What's going on, guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital. We're here with Spencer Cole, Chief Investment Officer at VOX Royalties. Nice to have you on, Spencer. How are you doing today?
Very well, thanks, Aaron. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's your first time on here. We've had Kyle on many times. Can you start by giving us an update on the company and everything that you guys have been up to in the last couple of months?
Absolutely, Aaron. So for listeners who aren't aware, VOX Royalty is a high-growth, precious metals-focused mining royalty investment company. We're listed on the TSX Venture and the OTC. What have we been up to recently? I guess there's a few different things we've been up to. One is we've been really, blessed this year by, exceptional organic growth in our royalty portfolio. We've got 54 royalties in our portfolio, and this year we've had, multiple records broken. Record number of drilling on our royalty properties, a record number of new royalties that have come into production, and a record number of projects that have moved from exploration into development. So as we look ahead into 2023, the future has never been brighter within our royalty portfolio. I think the other thing we've been working on in the background, Aaron, is a number of really exciting new royalty deals. So we've been looking at some really interesting precious metal royalties that we think we can bring into the VOX portfolio at really attractive prices for our investors. And so we hope in the coming weeks and months to be able to announce a few more royalty acquisitions to the market that should be quite exciting.
Awesome. So we'll have to have either you or Kyle back on, hopefully in another month or two, to talk about those. So the most recent announcement was the company's third quarter results, and along with that came more record numbers, as you said. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and why it's so exciting for you guys?
Absolutely. So I think what we announced in our Q3 results really was us delivering on what we previously guided the market towards. So I think the most exciting part was extremely strong revenues, but then also multiple royalty linked production records. So at our Higginsville gold royalty property and our Koolyanobbing iron ore royalty property, we saw both of those royalty assets had quarterly production records, which is really pleasing to see. And then I think in terms of where our revenue numbers ended up for Q3, you may be aware that earlier this year we already doubled our revenue guidance to sort of $4 to $5 million Canadian. And based on our Q3 results and how we're seeing Q4 unfold, we expect that we're on track to deliver revenue at the upper end of that guidance. So given we doubled that guidance earlier this year, we're pretty excited about how we're tracking from a revenue perspective.
Awesome. So VOX recently provided a number of development and exploration updates, including feasibility, production, and drilling. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So I think one thing that's challenging for any investor is when you've got 54 royalties like we do, it's like, what the hell is all this news flow and what's really important? So we try and distill down on a monthly basis what's really moving the dial for shareholders. So as you mentioned, in the last 2 months, we've announced some really exciting news flow and developments from our operating partners. One of those updates was on our South Railroad gold royalty in Nevada. This is one of the most rapidly advancing gold projects in Nevada. The operator, which is a company called Gold Standard Ventures, they just announced they're on track to release their feasibility study for this project Q1 next year, and then they'll move straight into construction financing. Now, this company's already got a $200 million construction term sheet, a financing term sheet from one of the largest private equity groups in the mining industry, Orion. So, we see this as being quite a low risk development project. So we look forward to that feasibility study coming out Q1. We also had some really interesting news coming out of one of our other Western Australian gold royalty properties, the Bulong royalty. The operator there, which is an ASX listed group, they reiterated guidance that they expect that property to be in production the second half of next year. So, what really excites us, Aaron, is that we've grown from one producing royalty asset to 5 in the last sort of 12 to 18 months. And then over the course of next year, we expect that to increase by another 3 producing royalty properties. And then we expect by the end of 2023 that we'll organically have gone from 5 producing royalties to about 10.
Yeah, that's an exciting growth trajectory for you guys. So the mining business has so many different companies at different stages in the game. Each has their own unique business model. Why should investors look at VOX compared to, let's say, some of the other royalties or the competition explorers?
Sure. So I think there's probably two answers to that. The first answer is I'm not sure if you've seen that movie Moneyball. That baseball movie, how they basically developed like a big data approach to picking undervalued baseball players. This was at the Oakland A's, over a decade ago. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, I apologize. It's probably not the best analogy, but we're applying the same sort of Moneyball type approach to finding undervalued royalties by using like a big data type approach. So we've developed what we believe is the world's largest database, a proprietary database of mining royalties. So over 8,500 royalties in there. And we use that database to find, completely forgotten mining royalties that we are then able to buy at a fraction of the price that our competitors would pay. So I'd say that's one differentiating factor, that VOX investors get a huge benefit from, because we're able to consistently print deals at a fraction of the price of our peers. The other thing I think that is a differentiating factor, and I think frankly is a source of huge undervaluation in the stock, is our current royalty portfolio is exponentially growing in terms of revenue, number of producing royalty assets, and fundamentally they're heavily skewed towards very safe countries. So 80% of our royalties are in Australia, Canada, and the US. So I think what's attractive to investors out of that is if you're looking for a company that has a huge amount of embedded growth at very low risk in safe countries, split across 54 different mining projects, VOX offers that high growth at extremely low risk. So I think that's another key differentiator that makes us very different from a lot of our competitors.
No, for sure. Thanks for explaining that. So, what are the main catalysts that we should be looking for right now from VOX, let's say in the near term?
Sure. So I think most investors, for any company, they'll say, show me the money. As Jerry Maguire once said in that film. But I think, a lot of investors, the key catalyst is show me the money, VOX. So as I said, we've been buying royalties that are just on the cusp of production. So one of the key catalysts to watch for VOX investors is over the coming quarters, just a number of new royalty assets are going to start producing, and a number of new royalties are going to start cash flowing. So brokers forecast quite a considerable amount of revenue growth for VOX over the coming quarters, and I'd say that is the single most important catalyst that investors are focused on. So we hope to show investors the money, as that quote says.
Oh, that sounds great. So if you had to pick 3 of your projects that you think have the most potential, which ones would those be and why?
Well, Aaron, we get asked this question now and then. It's always like, pick your favorite child, and which, is always an unpopular question for parents. The benefit we've got is across our royalty properties, we have about 35 million ounces of gold-linked resources, gold equivalent resources across our royalty projects. So it's sort of hard to pick 3, but I guess 3 that potentially do stand out. One would be the Bowden silver royalty. This is the largest developing silver project in all of Australia. There's a few different metals in the ground, but if you look at it just as a silver equivalent deposit, there's over 275 million ounces of silver in the ground. So just a huge ore body, and it's at this really exciting stage where it's right on the cusp of moving into construction. They're just in final permitting, and the CEO of the operator was recently quoted on Bloomberg as saying he thinks there's potential to triple the size of this resource, which would just make it, an even more astronomically large silver project. So that Bowden's royalty is probably one really interesting one. Another is our Ashburton gold royalty. So this is a Western Australian gold project that's aggressively being drilled out by an ASX listed group called Kalamazoo. It has a 1.6 million ounce resource of gold in the ground already, and their management team thinks they put out an exploration target that could grow to 2 to 3 million ounces in the ground. So just a really exciting project that we think has a lot of upside in it. And then I'd say the third project that's a very exciting project would be that South Railroad project in Nevada. So as I said, it's right on the cusp of feasibility. We think they're highly likely to get financing locked in over the course of next year. And that's another operation that's likely to have a sort of 10 to 15 year mine life. So a very attractive royalty project in some of the best part of Nevada.
Awesome. Well, you got some interesting projects going on right there. So as we move into 2022, I know we can't predict the future, but what are your thoughts on the commodity markets going forward?
Look, Aaron, I wish we had a crystal ball and could forecast commodity prices. If we did, I'd probably be speaking to you from a tropical island somewhere right now. But obviously we don't. But no, I think, as we look ahead into 2022, there's obviously been a huge amount of volatility in different commodity prices. But fundamentally, in our sweet spot of precious metals and base metals, there still is, a lot of our key commodities are at near record highs. So, we would expect, maintained strength in a lot of those key commodities. From a precious metals perspective, I don't see the world getting any more secure or more, less volatile, so to speak. So, I think the gold prices probably has, near-term support around similar levels. But the best thing about, how we see commodity prices evolving, Aaron, is when we buy new royalties, we use very conservative price assumptions. So even if the gold price was to contract by 30%, or even if the copper price was to fall 20%, we've priced our royalty acquisitions at such discounts to those prices, we're still making money, and a considerable amount of money. So, up, down, or sideways in those commodity prices, 2022 is really looking like a record year for VOX, irrespective of what happens to those commodity prices.
Yeah, it always pays to be conservative, especially in your business. So, where's the best place for investors to find out more information about the company, or where should they go?
So I'd refer listeners and investors to our website, so www.voxroyalty.com. Or if you'd like to drop us an email, feel free to email us at info@voxroyalty.com. And then, one of our management team members will respond to you, and we'd love to have a follow-up call with any investors that are interested to learn more.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all those updates, Spencer. I know you guys have a lot of news and your projects on the way, so we'll definitely have to have you guys back on for an update in the next couple months.
That sounds fantastic, Aaron. Thanks so much for your time.
If you like these videos, kindly hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Drop us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. And finally, always remember, Departures Capital is for information, education, and entertainment purposes only. Don't buy or sell a stock because you heard it on here. Buy or sell a stock because you've done your research, you've done your thorough due diligence, and you're making your own personal investment decisions for yourself. This video is not financial advice. Furthermore, this video may or may not have been sponsored by the companies that we've profiled within this video, and we may or may not own shares of any of the profiled companies in this video. If you want to know the full disclosure details, check the description down below, along with thoroughly reading our disclaimer. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.